Human beings always want to know how things work. It is just our natural instinct. That exact curiosity is what helped us explore the world around us, understand the laws of nature, and decode many phenomena that were once thought to be unexplainable. But not every place is willing to give up its answers. From strange geological formations to mysterious ancient ruins, there are still places that continue to give scientists a massive headache. So today we are going to some unbelievable locations, places that have been studied for years but still leave us with many unanswered questions. The stone blocks here are taller than a grown adult. Some weigh over 100 tons, but the unbelievable part is how perfectly they fit together. No cement, no binding materials. After hundreds of years and several major earthquakes, many of the joints are still almost completely intact. That is Sacsayhuamán, a stone structure sitting right above the city of Cusco in Peru. They form zigzagging walls that stretch across the hillside. Each section is made of polygonal stones with different shapes. People know this structure was built by the Incas, but how they actually did it is still a huge question mark. How could stones weighing hundreds of tons be shaped and pieced together with such pinpoint accuracy? To this day, no one has been able to fully explain what you're looking at right in front of your eyes. If you want to get to the Osirion, you have to go underground. Right from the entrance, you step into a dark stone space. As you keep walking, hallways and chambers start opening up before you. Thick walls, massive rows of pillars, heavy stone blocks stacked on top of each other in a simple yet incredibly heavy way. This place sits quite a bit lower than the current ground level. Over the centuries, groundwater has slowly flooded the lowest areas. The central section, because of this, is frequently underwater. Archaeologists believe the Osirion dates back to the time of Pharaoh Seti I. However, these two structures look almost nothing alike. While the walls of Seti's temple are completely covered in reliefs and hieroglyphs, The Osirion is just giant blocks of granite, very few decorative details, hardly any traces of the carvings you usually see in Egyptian temples. If the Osirion was really built during that same era, why is its architecture so completely different? And what was the original purpose of this place? The debate around this structure is still nowhere near over. In most places, human bones are buried underground. At Capela dos Ossos, they are put right on the walls. The moment you step through the door, you will realize this is no ordinary chapel. Skulls are everywhere, on the walls, along the stone pillars. Even up on the ceilings. Just about every single surface inside is covered with the remains of the dead. Back in the 16th century, Franciscan monks used the remains of around 5,000 people from local cemeteries. They used them to create the space you see today. The builders wanted this place to serve as a reminder of how short human life really is. To this day, those skulls still sit quietly on the walls. Empty eye sockets still stare out at passers-by. It does not feel like a cemetery, nor does it feel like a museum. It is just a place where the past seems like it never truly left. An entire mountainside is covered with white stone roofs. More than 90 structures sit packed together in a remote valley in the Dargavs region. Every single structure has low doorways. Behind them are small, dark stone chambers. Yet, not a single family lives here, because each house is actually a crypt. The Osirion people used to bring the deceased to this place instead of burying them underground. Over time, an entire city dedicated to the dead formed right in the middle of the Caucasus Mountains. Inside, thousands of skeletal remains have been discovered. Some were even found lying inside small wooden boats. In a valley that is almost completely cut off from any major waterways, this detail remains one of the most baffling mysteries of Dargavs. In Houtouwan, greenery has practically become a part of every home. Vines cover the walls, the roof tiles, and the windows. Many houses show more green than the actual colour of the bricks and stones. That scenery exists because this place is almost completely deserted. The residents gradually packed up and left, leaving behind homes that were once part of a thriving fishing community on the island. Plants just started taking over the structures that were no longer in use. But Houtouwan does not look like a ruined village. You can still see small paths running between the rows of houses. The stone steps still lead up the hillsides, just like before. It is just that now, everything is slowly disappearing under nature's green blanket. Deep in the Andean highlands of southern Colombia, hundreds of stone statues stand tall on the hills. San Agustín Archaeological Park is home to the largest collection of ancient stone statues in South America. Some statues are holding objects that are believed to be offerings for the dead. But other statues show something much harder to understand. There are statues that combine human and animal features in the exact same carving. Researchers think they might be related to ancient beliefs or rituals, yet that is still just a guess. There are no written texts to explain anything, and whatever civilization built them has long disappeared, leaving only these stone faces behind. Every summer, Spotted Lake turns into one of the strangest sights in Canada. Circles appear all over the lake's surface. Some are green, some are pale yellow, others look brown or white. They sit right next to each other like spots of colour painted directly onto the ground. As the water level slowly drops, minerals build up and divide the lake into hundreds of small, separate pools. This exact process is what creates these polka dot circles. Their colours are not fixed. They change based on the mineral concentration and the weather conditions of each year. Because of this, the lake's look is constantly changing over time. To the native Syilx people, this place has long been considered sacred land. And even today, Spotted Lake remains one of the weirdest sights that nature has ever made. Thousands of stone jars are scattered across the hills of northern Laos. Many of them are nearly as tall as a grown adult. Some are even bigger. Every single one was carved out of solid rock and is completely hollow inside. Time has definitely left its mark on many of these stone jars. Some are still almost completely intact, others are just broken pieces of rock. Archaeologists have found skeletal remains, burial goods, and traces of cremation around some of the jars. These discoveries lead many researchers to believe that this place was once tied to rituals for the dead. Even so, these findings are still not enough to clear up what their actual purpose was. Chaka Salt Lake sits on the Qinghai Plateau of China. This salt lake is dozens of square kilometres wide. Underneath the shallow layer of water are white salt fields that have been mined for over 1,000 years. You can walk down into the lake. Many areas are only covered by a very thin layer of water on the salt surface. The further you walk out, the fewer signs of land there are around you. On windless days, the water surface becomes as flat as a mirror. The sky and even human reflections are clearly visible in the lake. That is the reason this place is often called the Mirror of the Sky. An old railway track runs across the Salt Lake. Trains still pass through there every day. In the middle of the vast white lake surface, they look much smaller than their actual size. No need for man-made structures, no need for special effects. But the result creates one of the unusual landscapes of China. Inside this temple, rats are absolutely everywhere. They run along the hallways, sit on the stone steps, gather around the food trays and water bowls laid out around the temple grounds. This is the Karni Mata Temple in the state of Rajasthan, India, a place where tens of thousands of rats are cared for and protected by the locals. Pilgrims even walk barefoot right among them. Here, the rats are seen as holy. They are not chased away or avoided like they are in most other places. The rarest of all are the white rats. Many people believe that catching a glimpse of them is a sign of good luck. Amid the daily prayers and the streams of pilgrims coming and going, the packs of rats still move freely all over the temple, a scene that is very hard to find anywhere else. Walking across Easter Island, you will constantly run into stone faces. They pop up in many places all over the island. Some stand on stone platforms along the coast. Others lie on the hillsides and in open fields. Nearly 1,000 moai statues were made here. Most of them were carved out of volcanic rock from the exact same quarry. Some statues are over 10 metres tall. Some weigh more than 80 tonnes. Yet Easter Island happens to be one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth. The Rapa Nui people created these statues centuries ago. They were moved to spots located kilometres away from the quarry. But exactly how they got to those spots is something people are still debating to this day. Inside the Longyou Caves of China are massive spaces hidden deep underground. On the walls, on the ceilings, and even on the large stone pillars, there are chisel marks stretching out in parallel rows. More than 20 caves like this have been found. Each one is thousands of square meters wide. All of them were made by digging straight into the rock. Massive stone pillars were left throughout the space to hold up the ceiling above. There are pillars that are so huge that a person standing with their arms wide open would only cover a fraction of their width. In some areas, large reliefs even appear on the stone. They show several characters moving along a path. One person is sitting under a large tree, another is carrying objects. In a different cave chamber, the shape of a large dragon is carved into a stone pillar. Around them, chisel marks still cover the entire rock surface. For centuries, nobody knew these caves existed. It was not until 1992 that locals pumped out some water ponds and discovered them. To build structures like these, ancient people had to dig out millions of cubic meters of rock. Yet, to this day, there are still no records showing who actually built them. Red, orange, green. These colours completely cover the rock formations that are constantly shooting hot water into the air. The flowing water streams down to form small turquoise pools around them. The scenery belongs to Fly Geyser in the state of Nevada, USA. The current structure is about 3 to 4 meters tall. And it continues to change over time. Hot water rich in minerals constantly wells up from underground. Each new layer of minerals clings to the surface. The rock formations, because of this, are growing bigger and bigger. The colours of Fly Geyser do not come from the rocks. They are created by types of algae and microorganisms living in the hot, mineral-rich water environment. They are exactly what created the patches of colour appearing all over the surface. Fly Geyser did not form naturally like many other geysers. It started from a man-made well drilled in the early 20th century. Gradually, they created the strange landscape that exists in the middle of the Nevada desert today. The roads have already been built, the rows of houses already stand packed on the hillside, but no residents appear. Burj Al Babas in Turkey was once built as a luxury real estate project for the wealthy. More than 500 European-style villas were constructed here. Pointy castle towers, elaborately decorated balconies, the exact same design, copied hundreds of times. Then the project hit financial trouble. Construction work stopped. Many units were never finished. As a result, the whole area was left in an incomplete state. Empty windows, quiet hallways, rows of castles standing one after another, but with no residents. In many parts of the world, a funeral only lasts a few hours. In Tana, Toraja, it can drag on for months, even years. When a person passes away, the funeral usually does not happen right away. The body is kept inside the house. Cared for according to specific rituals. With the Toraja people, they have not truly left the family until the funeral is completely finished. Many families have to wait a very long time just to hold a funeral. When that day finally comes, hundreds of people might gather together. Herds of water buffalo appear among the Tonkanen houses. Gongs start ringing out. Groups of people stand in circles and sing traditional ritual songs. All across the Highlands you can also find burial sites carved directly into sheer cliffs. Many rock crevices hold wooden coffins that have been there for generations. Outside, statues representing the deceased stand quietly, looking out over the valley. For the Toraja people, this is just a part of a tradition that has been around for ages. But for many travellers, it remains one of the strangest places when it comes to how humans face death. It looks like a wall. That is exactly the problem. Kaimanawa Wall is located on the North Island of New Zealand. Large stone blocks fit together into nearly straight rows. The joints run horizontally and vertically. Many stone corners are so perfectly square that it is very hard to believe they appeared completely naturally. Some geologists argue that this is just natural ignimbrite rock that cracked along straight lines during its formation process. According to this explanation, the entire wall is just a product of geology. Supporters of the other hypothesis argue that the stone blocks look too much like a structure built on purpose. There is no evidence strong enough to close the debate yet, and the true origin of these stone blocks has still not been agreed upon. Therefore, everyone standing in front of Kaimanawa Wall faces the same question. Are you looking at an ancient wall or just a bizarre coincidence of nature? On a hill of Java Island is a structure shaped like a white bird. The head reaches high above the tree canopy. The beak opens wide toward the sky. From a distance, it is very hard to mistake it for any other structure. The creator of this place is Daniel Alamsja. He started the project in the 1990s after believing that he had received a message from God in a dream. But the construction did not last long. Financial difficulties caused the project to stop before completion. For many years, this place was abandoned in the middle of the woods before being restored and opened for tourists to visit. The original design had the shape of a dove. It is a symbol often associated with peace and faith. Yet most visitors find it looks more like a chicken, and the name Gereja Ayam was born from that. Inside are many spaces for prayer and reflection. This place is also open to people of different religions, instead of being reserved solely for one specific community. For more than 4,000 years, these stone blocks have stood in the middle of the English plain. Rain, wind, and thousands of years of history passing by around them. Stonehenge consists of massive stone pillars arranged in circles. Some stones weigh up to 30 tons. A portion of them was brought here from areas about 200 kilometres away. All of this took place at a time when there were no wheels or modern tools. This structure is aligned with the direction of the sunrise on the summer solstice. The accuracy is still maintained to this day. No one knows exactly how. No one knows exactly why. People still have not agreed on how they were transported. It is even harder to explain how they were erected and arranged with such precision. Stonehenge is one of the most studied locations in the world. Yet after thousands of years, this place still leaves us with more questions than answers. In Alliance, Nebraska, people built a replica of it, not from stone, but from cars. Carhenge is made of 38 classic American cars, painted grey and arranged in a proportion close to the original structure in England. It is still the familiar circle, still the vertical pillars and the crossbeams on top. Only one thing is different. The prehistoric stone blocks have been replaced with steel, glass and scrap metal. This structure appeared in 1987. Since then, it has become one of the strangest pit stops in America. A famous monument of the ancient world, recreated with the very thing tied to modern American culture: cars. Bands of red, orange, yellow and brown stretch across the hillside. They appear in distinct layers, as if the ground is divided into multiple colour tiers. That is what you see when standing in front of the Nallıhan coloured hills in Turkey. Looking from different angles, the hillsides constantly change colour. Some parts stand out with dark red bands. Other places shift to yellow, orange or light brown. In reality, those are exactly the sedimentary layers created over different geological eras. Each layer contains its own mineral composition. Over time, wind and water have carved away the surface layer, exposing what was once buried deep underneath. And as the sunlight shifts during the day, those colour tones change along with it, making this landscape look like it is moving on its own. Even though the hills themselves have stood still for millions of years. Every winter, Icehotel appears again on the snow-covered land of northern Sweden. Located in the village of Jukkasjärvi, this structure is built from ice taken directly from the nearby Torn River. Walls of ice, beds of ice. Even many of the artworks inside are sculpted from ice and snow. When the temperature drops, artists and builders start turning the ice blocks into hallways, guest rooms, and exhibition spaces. Each year they create a completely different design. Therefore, no two winters at Icehotel are alike. Throughout the cold months, this place operates like a regular hotel. Visitors sleep on beds covered in reindeer hides among transparent ice walls. The rooms have temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius. Each year, this hotel only exists for a few months and then disappears completely. Spring arrives. The temperature rises. The structure gradually melts and returns to the river that created it. By the following winter, Icehotel is built from scratch once again. Beneath the modern streets of Malta is the Hal-Saflieni Hypogeum. This place has existed since before many famous pyramids. The structure was dug deep into the rock around 5,000 years ago. Inside are many hallways, many rooms, and ceremonial chambers connected to each other across multiple levels. Some areas were even carved to mimic the architecture of structures above ground. Many details are still preserved to this day. Archaeologists have found the remains of thousands of people inside. That shows this place once played an important role in the rituals and burial activities of the ancient residents on the island. The problem is the builders of this structure left no written text, left no drawings, left no explanation whatsoever about how they created such a complex underground labyrinth. While many civilizations have appeared and then disappeared, the Hal-Saflieni Hypogeum still sits intact. A world created in prehistoric times, but to this day, there are still many things that we cannot fully understand. For most of human history, nobody knew the city of Pavlopetri existed because it lies beneath the water. Off the coast of southern Greece, this is considered one of the oldest submerged cities ever discovered. Archaeologists have dated it back to around 5,000 years ago. Under the shallow water, people can still make out streets, structures, courtyards, and the layout of an entire ancient residential area. Not just its age. The level of preservation is also what makes Pavlopetri so special. Many urban planning details are still clearly visible after millennia under the sea. However, researchers still do not know exactly what caused the city to disappear. Earthquakes, rising sea levels, or a combination of different disasters. There is no definitive answer. Today, Pavlopetri still lies under the waters of the Mediterranean. The roads are still there. The foundations of the houses are still there. But the story of the people who once walked those streets sank along with their city thousands of years ago. If you go from one end to the other, you can almost always see mountains on both sides. The space available for the city here is very narrow. The buildings are just a few steps away from the river. Many structures stand one after another in a long strip between water and rock. That is daily life in Yanjin, a city located in a deep valley of Yunnan Province, China. The Nangxi River flows right through the centre. On both sides are sheer mountainsides. In some places, the distance between them is only a few dozen metres. Flat land is very rare. Therefore, the city had to develop along the remaining strips of land by the riverbank. Some buildings are set on stilts reaching out from the steep slopes. Many residential areas stretch along the riverbank instead of expanding to the sides. Almost every usable patch of land has been taken advantage of. The result is one of the most unusually shaped urban areas in the world. Not because the buildings are too tall, nor because the architecture is too modern, but because the entire city seems to be built to fit perfectly into the remaining space between the mountains and the river. This fire has been burning for decades, day as well as night. Darvaza is located in the middle of the Karakum Desert of Turkmenistan. You can easily see a large crater glowing in the middle of the dark land. Beneath it are flames constantly rising from crevices in the ground. In 1971, a drilling exploration operation accidentally collapsed the ground above a natural gas pocket. To prevent methane gas from spreading into the environment, geologists decided to set fire to the escaping gas. They thought everything would end after a few days, but that did not happen. The fire kept burning week after week, then year after year. More than half a century later, the crater still glows brightly in the desert. Scientists understand why it burns, but nobody expected that process would last for so long. A decision that was only intended to last a few days created one of the strangest sights on Earth. And more than 50 years later, that fire has still not gone out. Kailasa Temple is one of the strangest structures ever created from stone. It is located in the Longyou Caves complex of India. The entire temple was carved from a single monolithic block of stone. The temple roof, stone pillars, hallways, sculptures, all were once part of the exact same mountain. Researchers believe the structure was built around the 8th century under the Rashtrakuta dynasty. To create it, ancient workers had to remove hundreds of thousands of tons of rock from the mountainside. But they did not build from the bottom up like usual. They started from the top. After that, they gradually hollowed downward. Just one major mistake could have ruined the completed parts, and there was almost no way to fix it. Yet more than 1,000 years have passed. The system of stone pillars, hallways, and sculptures are still connected into a unified mass. When standing in front of Kailasa, you do not just see a temple. You're looking at the part of the mountain that the ancient workers decided to keep after everything else had been chipped away. The world has no shortage of strange things. On the coast of Saint-Brevin in France, a skeleton of a sea snake species lies stretched out on the sand. This artwork is named Serpent d'Océan. It was created by artist Wang Yongping in 2012. The entire structure is about 130 meters long. It is placed right in the area where the tide goes up and down every day. When the tide recedes, you can walk around the entire skeleton, but when the seawater rises, most of the structure sinks beneath the water again. Only the head and a section of the spine stick up amid the sea waves. That site changes every day according to the rhythm of the tide, making this giant snake look like it is constantly appearing and then disappearing between the boundary of land and ocean. Xuankong Monastery in China was built in a place that most people would not think of. A sheer cliff dozens of meters above the ground. The temple appeared on the slope of Mount Heng more than 1,500 years ago. According to local records and legends, the builders chose this location for many different reasons. This place is located higher than the area where floods usually occur. The cliffs above also help reduce the impact of rain and wind. At the same time, it creates a space separated from daily life, a place quiet enough for religious practice and meditation. The wooden hallways, shrines, and staircases are attached directly to the cliff. The wooden beam system is plugged deep into the mountain to support the entire structure. The whole project looks like it is hovering in mid-air, but its exact special location helped it survive through centuries. Today, Xuankong Monastery is not just an architectural feat, it is also proof of a very ancient idea. The further away from the world below, the closer humans feel to the spiritual world. And perhaps that is only a very small part of the things we still do not fully understand about this world. Maybe one day we will find more answers, or maybe a few secrets will remain in the past forever. In your opinion, which location on this list is the hardest to explain? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you love stories about unbelievable locations and things that still cannot be explained, Do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to tag along on the next explorations.